Hello, so this will be a continuation of our lesson, pneumatic design, in the control of linear actuators, which are your single acting cylinder and double acting cylinder. Just a review of our previous lesson of the development of single actuator circuit. We have discussed what is the difference between direct and indirect circuit, the use of dual pressure and shuttle valve, how memory circuit is used, and what component we use to control the speed of our cylinders. So just an overview of this lesson, we will discuss the function of the following components: the quick exhaust valve, the pressure sequence valve, and time delay valve. So first of all, we will discuss quick exhaust valve. So quick exhaust valve actually increase the cycle speed of a pneumatic cylinder. As you can see here, we can see the symbol and then the actual picture of the component. So in here, it allows the air that is coming out of the pneumatic cylinder to be directed into the atmosphere instead of flowing back through the valve and slowing the process down. So by the operation of a quick exhaust valve, it is actually installed at the rod or blind end of a pneumatic cylinder to provide a quick extension and retraction of the equipment. As you can see here in the example circuit, we can see that the quick exhaust valve is actually connected at the pipe before coming in the linear actuator. So for the first example, we can see that the airflow going in from the input element, and then it will pass through your quick exhaust valve. When the airflow pass through this way, the airflow will push the ball to the other side and let the air pass through, extending now your cylinder. So it is just like a normal direct actuation. But in the retraction part, the air pressure now will go back to the pipes, and then the airflow will go out of the environment through your exhaust valve. So instead of the air going through all the way back to your input element and dun pa lang siya mag-exhaust, it will eventually go out faster using the exhaust valve. Going to the next example, the same way, it is now the use of double acting cylinder. In this case, when you press now your directional valve, it will change the position and let air pass through, extending now your cylinder 1A. In that case, the pressure buildup in this part of the piston will pass through the pipes and then move out of the quick exhaust valve. Due to this quick exhaust valve, mas mabilis na nag-extend yung cylinder. But in the case of retraction naman, it will move as a normal direct actuation circuit. So in this case, as you can see, since you are just using one exhaust valve, the one that is only affected is the speed of the extension. So if you want to have a quick extension and retraction, you need to have two quick exhaust valve on both sides of the cylinder. Next is, we will now have your pressure sequence valve. So as you can see here in the symbol, this is now your pressure sequence valve, and then this is the actual component of the pressure sequence valve. Now, let's have the example kung saan siya ginagamit sa circuit. So as you can see in this example, you will now have your supply, and then the supply will go to your input element and then your sequence valve. So as you can see here, you have your final control element, and then your power element will be your double acting cylinder. So let's analyze the circuit. So we will now have first your final control element. It is pneumatically controlled on both sides, and you also have an override so that you can override the final control valve manually. So meron siyang general switch on both sides. This is a memory circuit, so the last signal that you have put on this component will be the position na i-hold niya. You also have your pressure gauge connected to your input of your linear or double acting cylinder. So what happens here is when you push now your switch 1, the cylinder or the directional valve will allow air to pass through, pushing now the position of your final control element, extending now your double acting cylinder. when you fully extended your double acting cylinder, air pressure will now accumulate. So mame-measure siya using this pressure gauge, and then the air now can flow through these pipes, pushing now your sequence valve. So when pressure is accumulated in this pipe, it will eventually push the actuation of your sequence valve, allowing air to pass through in this way. And then, kapag meron na siyang enough pressure, itutulak niya na ngayon yung position ng directional valve inside your sequence valve so that it can let the air pass through from your input going now to your output. And then that output will eventually push back the final control element to its original position, retracting now your cylinder. So kung makikita nyo, you have two input for your sequence valve. One will come from your supply element and one will come from a signal para malaman kung may na-accumulate ng pressure. So an overall function of this circuit is when you push now your switch 1, it will fully extend, and when it is fully extended, it will actuate your sequence valve and it will eventually retract. Okay, so next circuit is your time delay valve. Now, your time delay valve is actually composed of several small components. You have your one-way flow control, you have your reservoir, and then you also have your 3-2-way directional valve. In some way, it is somewhat similar to your sequence valve. So, let's see how it is being used in this circuit. So, you have here your time delay valve. So let's just go through kung paano ba gumagana yung time delay valve. When air is passed, it will go through your one-way flow control valve. This one-way flow control valve will eventually control yung air na papasok ngayon sa reservoir. So in that case, kung gaano kabagal yung pag-flow ng air, ganun din katagal yung hihintayin nyo para mag-accumulate yung pressure. Now, the use of one-way flow control is para walang pressure na babalik dun sa input ng inyong time delay valve. So, in that case, kapag nag-accumulate na yung pressure, it will push now your 3-2-way valve to its open position, and then it will let air pass through from your input to your output. Now, seeing the circuit, how does this circuit function? As you can see, you have several sensors or rollers, and then you have one input. So let's go through them one by one. So you have switch 1 is your push button, and when you push now your switch, and then your roller now is positioned on its retracted position. So pag yung piston is retracted, it is now actuating your roller lever. So in this case, when both switch 1 and switch 2 is true, using now your dual pressure valve, it will now send signal to your final control element. Now your final control element will extend now your piston or extend now your cylinder. As you can see, may binigay na or may nilagay na one-way flow control. This is now to control the speed of the extension and retraction of the cylinder. So in this case, you will now have a controlled movement of the extension of the cylinder. After the extension, it will actuate the switch 3 or your lever 3, roller lever 3, when the cylinder is in its fully extended position. When it is on its fully extended position, roller lever 1S3 will actuate and let air pass through to your time delay valve, and then it will wait for the reservoir to be full until air pressure is accumulated until na maipush na niya ngayon yung 3-2-way valve. And then when the 3-2-way valve change position, it will allow air to push now your final control element to move back to its original position. When it move back to its original position, it will eventually retract the cylinder with a controlled speed because of the one-way flow control. So, ganun gumagana yung circuit. So, I hope you have understand the differences of quick exhaust valve, pressure sequence valve, and time delay valve. So just a summary, quick exhaust valve is used to quickly exhaust the air flow from the cylinder. Pressure sequence valve is used to actuate a directional valve when pressure is accumulated from a signal. And also you have your time delay valve. Time delay valve uses one-way flow control and reservoir to delay the movement of a 3-2-way valve so that you can have a delay in seconds or in minutes on the movement of air from input to output of the valve. Okay, so I hope you have learned something. Thank you and God bless.